As the UK is on the verge of finding out which of the 3 shortlisted proposals for airport expansion the Davis Commission will recommend, Heathrow Hub, one of those proposals, has asked us to look into the subject and the ideas behind each. Simon Calder is travel editor of The Independent. I asked him why the UK needs more airport capacity.
If you look at the way that London has become almost by accident the world capital of aviation, you think this is totally at odds with everything we've been told by the aviation industry for years, decades probably. But this year, London is actually increasing its lead over the next big city in terms of aviation. Something like 150 million people will fly in and out of London's airports in 2015, which will extend its lead over New York, which is the closest. And sure, you've got the Gulf airports coming up quickly. Dubai in particular already handles more international passengers than Heathrow. But my goodness, London performs extraordinarily well. And that is while we are being told, for example, that Heathrow is completely full, Gatwick is full at all the times that anybody wants to fly there, and while Stansted and Luton have a bit of space, even London City is creaking at the seams.
So now we know why we need it. Let's have a look at one of the options, Heathrow, and why it might be a good place for an extra runway.
Well, because we're the only airport today in the UK that is actually full all day, every day. So the demand is here for new flights to operate. Also, Heathrow is the UK's only hub airport, and that's a very special status that only a select number of airports around the world have. There's only 6 airports around the world that have more than 50 long-haul destinations. Here at Heathrow, we have 80. And the reason why we're able to operate those long-haul destinations is because we combine transfer traffic, so people flying to the airport on short-haul flights, with the demands of the people and businesses living around London, around Heathrow. And by combining the local demand with those transfer passengers means that we are able to offer more destinations, more frequencies, with more airlines than any other airport in the UK.
But not everyone is in favour of expansion, especially when we are currently trying to reduce the deficit.
Well, it seems to me it's just not in the interest of people, not in the interest of travellers, not in the interest of the economy, and not in the interest of the environment to have a 3rd runway at Heathrow. When it comes to the economy, we've got this massive deficit. If the government decides to build a 3rd runway at Heathrow, there's another £20 billion to spend. It doesn't make any sense when, if you're going to have a short-term solution, an extra runway somewhere, Gatwick makes complete sense, doesn't cost the taxpayer any money, but what's more, it introduces competition.
So, Gatwick is Adam Afriyie's choice of the 3, and we spoke to Charles Kerwin-Taylor, Corporate Affairs and Sustainability Director at Gatwick, about their proposal.
Our case rests on competition, which is something that we've been doing for the last 5 years. We've been competing heavily. During that time, we've improved service, we've lowered costs, and we've increased innovation around the airport. That's a good thing for the nation as a whole. The second point is that our scheme costs much less than that of Heathrow. So in terms of value for money, which will be ultimately paid for by the passengers, we represent a much lower cost option. It's much lower cost for the passengers, and it's much lower costs for the taxpayer. So we won't be asking the taxpayer for any money at all.
The 3rd option is again at Heathrow, but this proposal is quite different. Jock Lowe, Director of Heathrow Hub, explains.
The politicians after the last election said, well, no 3rd runway and no new people in the noise envelope. So the answer is very simple. You simply make a longer runway, cut it in 2, and then you've got exactly the same capacity as if you had a new runway. So all we're planning to do, or suggesting, is that we extend the northern runway, which is already 4,000 metres long, which is not needed by modern aeroplanes, extended to 6,500, 6,700 metres, put a big safety gap in the middle, and land at one end and take off at the other end.
What about the other Heathrow expansion ideas?
The answer, I think, has to be Heathrow. We just think our plan is easier, simpler and quicker than Heathrow's plan, and it will be a lot cheaper, £5–6 billion cheaper.
I suppose the disadvantage of being so close to the centre of London is that Heathrow is also surrounded by houses, surrounded by communities who are already very annoyed about the noise at the existing airport.
It's very easy to make a judgment about noise in 10, 15, 20 years' time based on today's noise. But it won't be the same for two reasons. One is that the aircraft are becoming quieter and will become quieter still. Each generation has been quieter. And secondly, they've got advanced navigation equipment, which can be used to put the aeroplane approaches over varying places, so you don't always have the constant drone until you're very close to the airport. And you can go over areas which are less populated. So we've had quite a pleasant reception.
From everyone?
It doesn't mean that everyone has been convinced. Some of them still will continue to oppose any expansion of Heathrow or Gatwick, or indeed probably anywhere else. But if you look at the business case of what the benefit of expanding Heathrow would have on the UK economy, it's not just West London, it's the whole of the UK.
So Sir Howard Davis has a lot to consider and an important decision to make. A decision we may not have to wait long to hear.